I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We work for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks.
What's up, JFW family? Welcome back to the Channel 23 podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to reach out and touch the fleet, to engage and inform everyone with all things JFW. It's episode 187, guys.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a code for, I think, a police person got shot.
187?
Yeah.
187, code 187.
Yep. Welcome, Jim White and Brother Dave. Super Dave is not here today. However, he did leave me his High Road Haulin'. And it's a good one. You guys are going to like it.
That's awesome.
I can't wait.
In our usual fashion, we'll get started with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Love it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So before we get into this trucker prayer, let's still keep Stingray, Dwayne Sands, Beans, I'm sure Dale, let's keep these people all in our prayers. They're all recovering.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Father God, we thank you for the opportunity to go out and do some trucking today. We pray for the safety of our fleet, all of their families, and all the other families and individuals we come across on the road today. We pray for patience and to making the good, safe decisions. We pray to be accident-free and that we all make it back to the comfort of our homes this evening. We pray for healing and 100% recovery for all of our family members that are ill. No matter what, we trust you, God, and it's in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Absolutely. Amen.
As a reminder, anything you hear on today's podcast is the men in this room's expressed opinions. Episode 186 had 237,000 downloads. We are at
237,000 downloads?
237. That'd be a
I
lot.
thought you were being funny.
We would have needed to have been monetized for that.
Yes, we would. Right.
We would have taken the rest of the day off.
Yeah, we could pick up some sponsors on that one.
Yeah. Episode 186 had 237 downloads. We were at 96.5 thousand total downloads, and we have 764 followers.
Outstanding.
Yep.
That is great.
Been a crazy week in the news with bombings and politics.
Oh, man.
And, there's a I don't know how to say it, but a lot of movements about not having mixed gender sports and this and that. And I seen the other day there was a person who couldn't afford their gender reassignment surgery. They called it transaction declined.
Oh, man.
And there you have it. The dad joke challenge has started.
Time for the dad joke challenge.
I just have to share with you guys, since you brought that up, the transgender. I ran across it, and the guy's doing like a TED Talk or something, and I believe he was military, but he's got his German Shepherd with him, and he's in the airport, he says, this couple comes up to me, and the woman says, "Hey, do you mind if I pet your dog?" And he goes, "Listen, thank you for asking, because the vest on the dog says, do not pet." So he said, "Go ahead and pet the dog." He said, "It's all right." She says, "Thank you," pets the dog. The other gentleman standing there says, "Can I pet your dog?" And he said, "No, he has a really hard time with men." He goes, why are you judging my race? Or my gender, not race, I'm sorry. Why are you judging my gender? And he goes, "Okay, so here I'm the middle-aged white guy in the airport that everybody's paying attention to now because this woman, which is a man, right? That's the gist of the story, is trying to pet my dog." Finally, I looked at her and said, "Do what you want to do. I will let the dog judge your gender." You're just like, If the dog doesn't like men, he's not,
Right?
he's not going to be
The
happy.
dog knows.
The dog
Dog
knows,
knows.
right? And I mean, it's such a controversial.
Was the dog like looking at him sideways?
With a tooth snarled, the lip snarled, showing his teeth.
Yeah, you just, the truth of the truth. And I know there's lots of different layers to that, but
Sure.
it's just funny that the dog's going to choose,
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to make that choice. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, my dad jokes. I looked up, we announced it last week, and me and Holly had a wonderful weekend for our 30th anniversary. So I kind of looked up just husband and wife jokes and, getting married and that kind of stuff. So the first one I ran across is Betty goes, "Hey, which month is it best to get married in?" Bob goes, "Octoberberry." Betty goes, "Don't be silly. There's no such month." Exactly. Then a man brings his best buddy home for dinner unannounced at 7:30 p.m. His wife begins screaming at him, and his friend just sits there and listens. Wife: "My hair, my makeup isn't done. The house is a mess. The dishes are not done. I'm still in my pajamas. I can't be bothered with cooking tonight. Why the hell did you bring him home?" "Because he's thinking about getting married and I promised him a demo." I love you, Holly. It hasn't been one of those 30 years.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Did you guys hear the man who created the wind chill factor died?
No, that's
Couldn't
terrible.
believe it. Yeah. He was 95, but said he feels like 80.
Ah, that's good.
Oh, man.
That's funny. Good stuff. All right, new employees. We got Cyrus Wiley, Ashley Webb, both joined fleet as drivers, and then JJ Little is the new wash bay supervisor.
Nice.
Yeah,
You know JJ right away because he's little.
Big guy, huh?
He's a giant.
Nice.
Celebrations, anniversaries. Chance Dobler hit 1 year yesterday. Happy anniversary, Chance.
Happy anniversary.
Congratulations, Chance.
Birthdays. Coleman Amar had a birthday yesterday. Tony Martinez has a birthday tomorrow. Scooby Slack, birthday on Friday. And Tommy Trujillo has a birthday Saturday.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Happy birthday, guys.
Yeah, happy birthday. Scooby, you look good for your age, buddy. I got to throw that out there.
How old is Scooby?
Older than I am. Scooby will call me up this afternoon.
Scooby. Family birthday celebrations. Mary Harper, a.k.a. Beans, had a birthday Sunday the 22nd. And Alan Carballo's daughter, Deliza, has a birthday tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Yep. I got word that Tony Martinez wants to give John Jordan a shout out. I just don't know why. So shout out to John Jordan.
There you go.
Yep. JR wants to give a shout out to Chili Dog for helping him with A1 chip seal radio channels, stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
Yep. I'm going to skip this next one and come back to you, BD, since that one's yours. Tracy wants to give a shout out to Dustin Courier for grabbing a late Coors Load Saturday and delivering it to Long Meadow. And then I got this one from Hollywood, I believe. Valentino. Hey, Jam, good morning. I apologize for the early text, but I wanted to let you know I have some shout outs for the podcast today. I'd like to give a shout out to Kendrick and Erica and Super Dave for the help yesterday. I was pulling into the yard at 2 p.m. for my early off with a mud flap on my trailer that was slightly damaged, although it didn't need replacing right then, and there I take pride in driving nice equipment we have here at JFW. Kendrick and Erica were quick to jump in and help by showing me where to find the right tools for the job. At around 3 p.m., me and Erica were able to get off the last seized bolt, and Super Dave showed up and we had the mud flap changed in seconds. Huge shout out to our safety directors for always lending a helping hand and never being afraid to get their hands dirty. My other shout out is for Greg, a night course driver. Every time he preloads my truck, he goes out of his way to call me during his busy night and give me a full details on the dump location and the most safe and efficient way to get the job done correctly. Excuse me. There's a reason JFW is the best. Thank you, Jam, and have a blessed day, brother. Hollywood, a.k.a. Tino, 0088.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was a good one.
That is.
Next one is from Fabio, who is, well, I'll just read a shout out. Good morning, JFW family. This is Fabio Plaza checking in with a special shout out to the entire JFW family. I just want to take a moment before heading off to boot camp for the Navy Reserves to express my deepest appreciation. For those you don't know, Fabio is going on a leave of absence. Starting Friday will be his last day because he has joined the Navy Reserves. And he's got to go through boot camp and like a specialty school. And yeah. So Brother Dave, and he continues, Brother Dave, Jim, and Super Dave, the whole safety team, and all the drivers out there, thank you. You guys are more than coworkers, you're family. The way JFW treats people, supports each other, leads with integrity is something I've never seen before in any other company. I've worked in different places, done hard jobs, seen all kinds of leadership, but what JFW does is different. It's real, and I'll carry that with me as I go serve. You set a powerful example of what respect, teamwork, and excellence looks like. Stay safe out there, keep those wheels turning, and I'll be back stronger, ready to keep pushing forward with you all. Much love and respect, Fabio Loso.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you and good luck, Fabio.
Yep, thanks.
I mean, yeah, it's he's taking on a challenge.
Yep.
Thank you for doing what you're trying to do. I mean, he's there to support our country and our freedoms and fight for us.
Thank you in advance.
Right?
For serving our
right?
country. Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna
Send us a postcard from Iran. I have one final shout out and then I'll hand it over to you guys. I want to give a shout out to my Stop the Bleed peeps that came in on the day off this past Sunday over to the training center. That was Joanne and Kathy. That was Clint Camore, Elvin, JR, and Oswaldo. All took time out of their Sunday to learn how to stop life-threatening bleeding. So
that's awesome.
It is awesome.
It was a fun class.
Yeah, good job, Jim. Thank you for that too.
Yeah, no problem. You guys are safe up here now with Joanne and Kathy. They're ready to go.
That's very cool.
Yep. We'll roll it back to you there, Brother Dave.
Yeah, I just had a shout out for Greg Wise, who's doing the night Coors. He just does an amazing job for us. You know, the communication is spot on, like was mentioned later a few minutes ago. The email comes over. It shows what trucks are preloaded. It has any notes for anything that went on. It has all the information. He left us notes last night that we're going to discuss later in here, but there was a spill at Coors yesterday that apparently happened around 1 or 2 o'clock yesterday, and not one of our drivers said anything, but Greg did.
Right.
When he showed up at night, we found out about it this morning, and we got up there this morning and cleaned it up when we could have went up there yesterday and cleaned it up because it's a bad look for us up there.
Wow. It's
I don't know if people look around, but we're not the only end-dump company out there, and our service is what keeps our contract at Coors.
Yeah.
If we're just making a mess and spilling and being shitheads and not cleaning up, I'm not telling you we can't have an incident. It's how we deal with it, right? But we've got to know we have an incident, and Greg let us know, and Casey went up there and cleaned it up. Shout out to Casey for just rushing right up there this morning and taking care of it.
Yeah,
so
thanks, Casey.
Yeah. And anyway, back to Greg. Just good job, Greg. You take care of things. You're communicating with each and every driver. We've seen how many shout outs from drivers that he cleans their floor mats. He does this, he does that. And that's incredible, Greg. Keep up the good work, man. It's impressive.
It is nice because how many complaints do we get? Oh, the night cars driver did this, or
right. I don't want him to take my truck. I got grain on my floor mats. I got
there's like two grains.
Right. My truck is a disaster. They threw this on the ground, and you're like, okay, they laid your vest on the ground, and like you said, Jim, there's 2 pieces of grain.
I feel like Greg leaves a mint on the dashboard for that.
right, and a little thank you for allowing me to use your truck note.
Yeah. Folds their gloves in a bunny rabbit shape. The whole bit. That's awesome.
So anyway, good job, Greg.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Who was the guy? I mean, he worked so hard. He was a good guy, but before COVID and everything, because he'd end up taking the keys home for the trucks. I want to say Jeff, and that's not the name. I mean, he was a good guy. His daughter and stuff rode with him quite a bit and stuff, but he just.
Oh, absolutely, Jim.
But that was a problem, before.
Yes.
When we didn't have all the matching keys, but he just on accident, he'd take the keys and, and
that was before everything was keyed the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that as, Greg's
I'm
doing a
kind of
great
with you.
job.
I want to say Jeff. And
It's not. It's
yeah,
not though.
yeah.
It's not.
I can sure picture him and his daughter.
Yeah.
Oh,
So.
Fro.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Don't remember his real name.
He did have a fro too.
I wonder how old Fro's doing.
Yeah, right. He was a good guy.
I
Yeah.
like Fro.
I hope he's doing well.
Yeah,
Sam.
absolutely.
Hope his daughter's doing well.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking about drivers doing it. Oh, Jim, shout outs.
You know, I kind of grouped everybody together last week, and not to group everybody again this week, and I think we'll talk about it in the podcast here. But you know, we get a little bit busier. It's a little bit hot out, all that kind of stuff, and things just pop up, and we're busy taking care of it. I mean, I have to mention it, and I'm sure we're going to. But you know, the spill we had, the truck was overweight. The truck also went right down the interstate. We just have a lot of no's. And then, you know, maybe the drivers that passed over the spills, and Chris Beam, I know you're always helping us out and stuff. You're one of the guys that went over the spill, but maybe you assumed that somebody reported it. And I guess the shout out is when you talk about, you know, Hollywood 0088 and everybody joining in to help change that mud flap, that's the thing we have to continue to do. And I know we have a lot of people doing that. That's the shout out. It's just when we let the little slide, it's huge.
Yeah.
And that's the, you know, I want everybody to realize we recognize how hard everybody's working. You know, I mentioned you, Chris, you bust your ass. You've been busting your ass for us for years, you know, and the one time you didn't call in a spill, and I'm sure you've seen it and you just thought we knew about it, right? Or that circumstance. So just everybody keep up the hard work, and you know, when we're working the longer hours and it's hot outside, we got to stay on top of our game. We just have to do it. And the people that are, you know, always helping, thank you. Was basically the shout out.
Yeah, I mean, we're never going to be perfect, but man, we need to try. You know?
Yeah. There just never can be enough communication between people.
Right.
You know, it's just some, and it has to be you know, we talk about it over and over. Our creed is just how it is worded is so powerful.
Yeah.
You know, respect your words and your actions and all that kind of stuff, and doing it together.
Yeah.
I mean, just take a look. Yeah.
I agree.
It's easy to get complacent.
It
it
is. Because it's easy,
right?
I mean,
it takes nothing,
no
effort.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also, drivers don't feel like it's just you guys, right? Or girls. I mean, so we had a little coaching moment yesterday morning. The safety team did about, you know, things that we miss, me specifically, you know, and you just got to really pay attention to everything and be aware. And like you said, we can't take our foot off the gas.
Yeah. And, again, I you know, where we fit stuff in and here
doesn't matter
during the
it's an outline. It's not a Bible.
Yeah. But it's just, you know, where we talk about it. But the training we do for so many people, you know, and again, we mention it every week. You know, you guys are all going to hear this. We got JR, we got Kendrick, you know, we do the other test. We have your trainers. And then for you guys to jump out in your truck, gals and girls, and not follow the training or how you were trained, is that complacency, or is that the nervousness of being out on your own, you know, or where are we failing to make that connect where it sticks? You know, we turned a couple of new people loose, and man, the phone use went through the roof.
Yeah.
When that, I know the trainer didn't train you that way. We can't have the phone use.
Yeah, Super Dave asked me, he's like, hey, are you going to meet with that driver? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you know, I just think that driver thinks it's okay and, you know, doesn't understand what phone use is. I'm like, listen, we know who trained that driver. They weren't trained that way. And they weren't doing it in the cab of the truck during training. So
right,
it's a conscious thing. The phone is the all-powerful
it's the drug.
Dopamine addict. Like, yeah.
Doesn't discriminate, right, Jam?
It does not discriminate.
Yep.
You know,
It'll take the best of us out.
you're spot on, Jam, with the trainer, but we all know that JR shows you the 8-second video in
Oh yeah.
in your orientation.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
there's no excuse for it. And then, we talk about the different speeds. We try to monitor the speeds in and out of the plants. And, some of the stuff is just a hair too fast, but it's not outrageous. And the difference between doing it right and the speed you're going is seconds, but it just looks better. It's not the speed limit's, 10 miles an hour, but you're doing 13.
Right.
It's just enough to make it look bad to go in the plant when just go the 10, or under, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's just so many, you want to know, we've mentioned this, the secret to insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again. Are we stale? Are we missing some kind of training that's not making the point?
I don't know where we find a different approach. You know what I mean? And I know we're going to talk about it here a little bit later, but it's just like the gauges. You know what I mean?
Right.
We go through the training, you sign a page, you're made aware of it, you're taught how to use them, how to calibrate them, but how many people actually are using them?
Yeah, the load of Coors yesterday, there's a good excuse, I guess, that the scales broke and not giving you a readout. But there's scales on the truck, you're flat, and when you're getting loaded. And the thing is you're the captain of that ship. And what by I mean, you're controlling being loaded. You can't blame the loader operator. You can't blame anybody else that. And you loaded so much that you spilled all the way out, Coors, where we could find the spill. We don't know how much you spilled going out to the dairy and then getting on the interstate. So when do you take responsibility for doing the right thing? The state patrol catch you and give you a ticket for spilling your load, then
Right.
It's a whole different game then.
Yep. It'll mean something to you.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I do want to bring up a couple drivers that are doing it right. That means driving, dumping, pulling on the scale, and no phone use. This week's drivers are Cisco Chacon and Andrew Berger. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Congratulations, you guys. Good job.
Good job. That phone use, man. I don't know how much more we're going to beat it up. It just is never ending.
Nope.
It's yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jim, you mentioned it already, how everything's fine during training, and then a week or two, and like all of a sudden there's a new habit that just happened, right? It's okay to be on the phone while you're driving and not pay attention. And maybe it's because, I'm going under 20, or, I'm sitting in traffic. And, we've talked about the accidents we've had,
a lot of them are at a traffic light.
Yeah.
Stopped.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So don't be on your phone if you're moving.
Yeah. If you're
parked and pulled over.
If you're a newer person around here, just keep referring to your training. Keep going back to the way you did it when you were with your trainer, because we're training you a specific way, and that should be across the board. Each trainer may have their little bit, of their own style of doing things, but there are some non-negotiables, like looking out the back window when you're dumping, letting your trailer down all the way when you're done dumping, right? Speeding, phone use. Those are things that we're all on the same page about, and you have to do it the way that we're asking you to. There's other things that you could do your own way, but the things that we teach you in training, they're there for a reason.
Yeah, and that's part of your job.
Yeah.
It's non-negotiable.
Yeah. Not, stopping before you get on the scale. Not stopping, but stopping before you get on the scale. Mm-hmm. Not using the radio when you're getting on the scale. And it's funny because, we just had a meeting the other day, and I forgot to bring the podcast up, which I'm shocked that I did. But we're having trouble with a driver. He's doing things the way he wants to. Left lane, no phone use, following too close, letting his trailer down as he's pulling away from all the things that we never taught him, Also doesn't listen to the podcast. So it's like, you're out there just doing your thing the way you want to, and you're not getting fed the information that we go over repeatedly as reminders and to kind of reel everybody back into the JFW way.
So who's helping him?
Nobody's helping him. Well, I hope we helped him a little bit the other day. I'll bring up the podcast to him next time I see him. But yeah, and it's just, I hate sounding like a broken record about the podcast, because if it seems funny that, the quote unquote host of the podcast is asking you to listen to the podcast, it's not for me. It's for you.
Right.
We're covering the things that you need to know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the reason I'm asking what can we do different? And we've asked that question lots of times.
40 years.
Yeah.
Right. Jim?
Yeah. Because when you go out and do your own thing, what's the purpose of everything we've done, and what are you trying to accomplish?
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. This is a team. We
Yeah.
do things together, and we do things the same way.
First word in every line on the creed together.
If that's not your MO, then it's probably, I hate to say it, but this probably isn't the place for you.
Right.
Let's figure that out sooner than later.
Yep.
And that's not a threat. It's just, if you're not happy doing things the way we asked you to, then you're not going to be happy, or we're not going to be happy with the way you're doing them. So,
yeah. I mean, Jam, we've sat through enough of Super Dave's interviews. He goes over that creed with every single person.
He goes over everything.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It blows me away. I mean, I've seen right in front of JR, I will ask people like, hey, you listen to the podcast? Oh no. How do I do that? And it's like, I know they cover that in orientation because
Right.
I've given the orientation.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, we are in the discussion. We will take off the last item, do things the way you were trained. We already hit that. We talked about the core spill a little bit. You wanted to talk about the scale. Did we talk about that enough, Brother Dave? Inoperable scale?
I don't think we've point blank said the scale is down at Coors.
Yep.
It is not working. There's no display, nothing. We are simply loading there off of our gauges. And I just don't know that, I don't think we've done a good job at portraying that to every person that's running out of there.
Right.
I mean, I personally don't think we've done a good job at all at educating every single driver that's going there. Hey, you're going to have to load off of your gauges. Do you know how to use your gauges? Do you know how they work? Even though that should be a question we shouldn't ever have to ask. Because again, we know that was gone over in training, right? When you run into a person that says, oh, I don't know how to use my gauges. Wow, where were you during training?
Right.
You know what I mean? Was that just a where do I sign type deal?
Yep.
So
check the box.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, these rules or these things we ask of you are there for a specific reason. So yeah, I mean, if you're hauling out of Coors and you don't know how to use your gauges, don't run Coors.
Yep.
You're not doing us or yourselves any favor. If that limits dispatch to 3 people, so be it. Those 3 run Coors. If you can't run your gauges, do us a favor. Don't run Coors. Pull yourself off. Call dispatch right now. Say, hey, I can't run Coors. I don't know how to use my gauges.
Or learn how to use your gauges right now.
Absolutely, Jim.
I think there's a video on Connect Team.
Yeah.
That shows how to do that.
Yep. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. That video JR did, 6 months ago? Maybe longer? Great video.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so easy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sure not difficult. So, and we have a scale that you can verify, if you.
Oh, yeah. If you're over at yard 23.
Right.
Even if you're here, it's right there.
Yeah. It's how engaged you want to be. How good do you want to be at your job?
How effective.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to be a C student, a D student, or, you want that A+ and get into college? Who knows?
Yeah.
Right? Where's your bar? Right? Where's your bar?
I was talking to a driver yesterday, and he was having some difficulties, had a call in. Researched the call in, had a good conversation with the driver. Pleasant dude, likable. I like Sam here. While I had him, let's look at your scores. And he was 121 out of 125. He was ranked 121st out of 125 drivers. And
nice.
I was like, bro, is that where you want to be? Because that's not good.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was top, Jam.
No.
Sorry.
No, there's
one being the best.
Yeah.
Out of 125 drivers, you are the 121st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we only have 110 drivers.
There's
I'm kidding.
okay.
Jim.
You got me. You went with that one. I just,
funny.
like I said, and this is a good person, and I'm sure we'll have a conversation after the podcast, but man, I couldn't come to work every morning knowing I'm 121st.
Mm-hmm.
I'd expect.
Yeah, it'd just be a big challenge. I would take it as a big challenge. You probably would too, but to change that, I can't be that, and that's when we talked about it a while ago, like a couple of these persons, that's not our standard. That might be your best, but that's not our standard. That's the reason we've shown you all this, to bring you to our standard. This is what our customers expect. This is what insurance companies expect. This is what the state patrol expect. This is what everybody expects. Sure. It's a standard.
Yep.
Not let's drive in the left lane and speed and all the rest of that. Let's haul overweight. That's not the standard.
Right.
Yep. And I don't know, I just think of other positions that people might hold, that how you act in this position, you could never do that. You'd kill somebody. I think of maybe you just don't view the driving or the truck driving. I think of, for example, the rules that, Danielle has, my daughter that's the nurse, and checking in, and, the drugs and all the other stuff, and yet the things that still happen.
I'm going to do it my way.
right, Jim? Right?
Imagine you get a nurse, went through training. This is how you start an IV. This is how you give meds. This is what you do to save people and make them more comfortable. Cool. I'm on my own for 2 weeks. I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah.
Right? That's where I don't. Why would you do it that way there and not here?
Right.
That's where I get confused.
Funny story. When I was in IV school doing my practical over at Denver Health, they kind of give you like a little history of things that have gone wrong that got people kicked out. And there was a student, an IV student, was changing doctor's orders for patients and had to be physically removed.
Wow.
Imagine. Yeah.
Showing
up.
Yeah. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And I guess that's my thing. I don't want to dog somebody, but why is it okay here with what we do?
Is it because of what we'll tolerate? Is it because
could
of
be, Jim?
Is it because I know we're tolerating less, right? But when we find somebody that's, been here for 2 weeks and got out of training, and then 2 weeks later is doing it their way, and do we need to be stricter? Which, according to a lot of people in the fleet, we're already pretty strict.
Yeah, you have you guys were way too strict, then we're not strict enough.
Yeah. It comes down to the restrictive or protective. Are we restricting you or are we protecting you?
Exactly.
And are we protecting the house?
Exactly. Because you look at a few of the people that we've had to part ways with because of phone violations, and where they're working at right now. And that's what they accept. That's what those other companies accept. And the whole deal to that is that company has never checked why they're not here anymore, why that driver's not here anymore. And one accident.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the nuclear verdict when the lawyers get a hold of that they never checked why the person was let go? And because they'll subpoena us.
Yeah, I don't think they look at it as they would let go as much as they graduated from driving school.
but the standards, Jam, you know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
And I know you're joking, but the standard, like, we don't put up with it, but look how many other people just put up with it.
Right.
And we know how wrong it is.
Oh, you were fired from JFW? You must be a good driver. We don't have to do anything with you.
Yeah, that doesn't happen, right? Think about that. Just think about that statement. Oh, you were fired from JFW? Then what the fuck did you do wrong?
You'll be a top driver here.
And that is not to dog anybody. again, that's the standard.
Right.
We're trying to, just like you said, Jim, we're trying to protect you.
Yeah.
And all those layers are gone now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of cores and speaking of the scale being down, if you chose to go around to the other entrance, you can do that. And you won't have to worry about this railroad crossing we're about to talk about. Okay. I'm not saying you shouldn't go over the railroad crossing, but we had a situation at Cora's a couple weeks ago now. Greg did a wonderful job, stopped at the railroad crossing, checked, looked, everything looked good, started to go. And as soon as he started to move, the lights started flashing. Now, we went through this last year, and the driver backed up, but the crossing arm was behind his cab, and we broke that off. We had to fix that. Greg drove forward, which was the right thing to do, even according to the 5 safety guys that we met with last week, whenever. Last week. But there is not enough time. Once those lights start flashing, there's not enough time to go forward or backward. You're going to break something.
Yep.
No matter what, right? The trucks aren't fast enough or short enough to get out of the way of those crossing arms. Now, the train goes, I believe they have it set at 5 miles an hour. They call it walking speed is 5 to 8 miles an hour. They say they have it on the lower side. I don't know about that. But when you get to that trestle railroad crossing, and I put this out on Connect the other day, there's a picture of it so you know what we're talking about. Coors wants us waiting 10 seconds before we attempt to go through there. And those 10 seconds aren't just you waiting, looking straight ahead. Those 10 seconds, you're scanning and scanning and scanning to make sure there's not a train. If you see a train moving, just wait no matter what, right? Just sit there and wait and make sure they're not coming over that trestle or from the other direction going towards the trestle. So 10 seconds is going to seem like 10 minutes, I'm sure, but that's what they've asked and pretty much was put like, this is what it's going to take to do business here.
Absolutely, Jam.
So,
And I mentioned before the podcast when we were talking about it, when we go up there and we're stuck in those situations and we're at fault, even when it didn't feel like we were at fault, it sucks, and no fault to our driver. He did everything. It looked textbook, and it was on the video. Now they're asking us to up our game, right? So what do we need to do?
We got to comply.
We got to up our game. So we're asking you to pull to that stop sign, not just stop and go. Now we're asking you to stop for 10 seconds, looking both directions several times to make sure a train's not coming.
Yep.
If a train's coming, like Jam said, just sit there, let the train go by. Yep. They're usually very fast.
Yeah, it's like 2 cars.
Right. And off you go. And it's no big deal. And we will have saved, not only thousands of dollars, but I mean, that meeting up there, it was, 6 other people that Jam met with. And, it's definitely Coors higher up. It's Amcor on the train side. It's, their rider was involved in the emails, but I don't think they had a safety representative there.
No.
It's serious shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This isn't, I think what we do is so taking not seriously,
right?
Or I don't know where the seriousness of what we do, how it's downgraded, from our perspective, right? When you sit behind the wheel all day, you kind of get numb to the risk you're taking, I think sometimes. And again, I'm backing up the driver. He did everything right. They're not making us pay for it, but they're asking us, like you said, Jam, you tagged it. Hey, you want to do business here? That's what it takes. Right?
Oh yeah. They said that with a smile.
Yes.
Yes. Like anything I wanted to say, it didn't matter.
Yes.
It didn't matter. What I was told is, let's not assume the driver did everything right.
Right.
We're not assuming it. We've seen it on video.
Right.
Can you do this? Can you do that? Listen, our system is operated as it's designed to work. We're not changing anything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the vibe,
right,
of those meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I guess it would be interesting for a driver to have to sit through that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, put it this way. If you drove by when we were all out there, you would know some shit was going down.
Right.
Like What are all these clean yellow vests doing out here?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I want to thank you for taking care of that too, Jim.
My pleasure.
So,
That was fun.
so what do we need to do when we get to that railroad crossing?
Stop for 10 seconds.
Look both ways repeatedly,
Yeah.
not just once, not twice.
So one thing they did do is they agreed to cut some trees back. So when you're coming from the can, headed towards the scale,
Loaded.
that doesn't work, loaded, you'll have a better view down the trestle. Before, from a different angle, you'll be able to see if there's a train behind the trees now where you couldn't before. So that should help a little bit. And as a matter of fact, if you were over there today and you could take a picture, because I did send that out on Connect too,
Yeah.
and I circled what trees they're going to remove. If you could take a picture and send that to me, that would be awesome. So,
And what's the Jam? Where does I looked at the picture and have been there. When do the lights come on for the train? Because at a walking speed, and when I looked at your picture, if the train is clear back around like where the trees are, and I've looked, I see the train, I might drive through there because nothing's happening.
right. So the sensor is on the far side of the trestle, probably about, well, it's after the split.
Okay.
It's probably 20, 30 feet, past the trestle. But yeah, I mean, so
the sensor is on the other side of the creek.
Yes.
Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. Yeah. Because the trestle.
When the train is over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know where it is on the other side.
Right.
But if you see a train and you start to go, it may go to the right and never trigger the sensor, and the arms will never come down, or it's going to come to the left. So
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry. But long as you've waited the 10 seconds.
if you wait 10 seconds, you should be able to see what that train's doing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And if it seems like it's coming, if it's moving before it got to the sensor either way, I would just wait.
Right.
Like, there's a moving train over there.
Right.
What's it going to do?
Right. Now we need to talk about empty going in.
Let's talk about it.
You got the same scenario, but it's that train can be blocked by the cars parked there because there's a couple tracks there, and we ran into that before.
The train cars, yeah.
And it's the same exact angle. That road crossing is an S, right? The tracks are parallel, but where they cross the street, it becomes an S. So each direction coming and going, you literally almost have to look out your back window, and it's deceiving because it's right at the stack and the corner of the cab and all of that. So you really need to be looking for the train as you're driving towards the tracks, and see if you see it moving or whatnot. Because we've had it totally hidden behind the cars and had it come down. And this was early on. And I think because it was the right side, it just hit the top of the trailer and we didn't do any damage. So, yeah,
That'd be nice.
This is third incident, maybe fourth.
Two that I'm aware of, just since I've been here and involved.
So, I mean, it's an ongoing issue, right? I mean, it's
yeah. So if that all sounds like a lot right now when the scale's not working, if you don't want to deal with any of that, just go to the other entrance. I don't know if that costs you a lot of time or if it's harder.
Yeah, back to doing your job. I mean, the direct route is going in that way, right?
That's where I would go in and deal with the train.
Yeah. I mean, 10 seconds again, that's 1001, 1002. We can all do it. It's just no time at all, really.
Yeah.
And the other route off of Ford Street, I don't know. It's a cluster.
Is it?
That's just my 2 cents, Jim.
Yeah. That was one of
It's a designed truck route. When you get off on McIntyre, you grab the frontage road. It's just.
It makes sense.
You know?
I would go that way, but that's one of the things, that was brought up. Like, why are your drivers even using this entrance?
Right.
I'm like, because the scale's there. Scale doesn't work. I'm like, well, it should.
Exactly, Jam. Exactly.
By the way.
Yep.
All right. We good on cores and the trestle and the railroad crossing?
Yeah.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Yep. All right. Brother Dave, why is it important to park your car in your assigned spot?
Well, I will tell you. Because if you park somewhere else and we need to be in that area, you're in the way. Especially right now at Yard 23, we need access to a lot of places that, especially I showed up there the other day and there were like 4 cars in front of that shed. So the trailer we needed that was inside that shed, we couldn't access. They did leave the door open for the skid steer, but we don't know when we're going to need access to that trailer,
Right.
and you don't know the trailer's in there because the door's closed and other items in there. And, if you park at the other end in front of the snowplows, and we did just condense that yard to one area. We have all the trucks right next to each other. So you have to pull your truck out, put your car in. So it's just like this yard now.
Sure.
And you may as well just get used to it because it's going to be like that when it's complete. But what that's done is given us access to all the other areas in the yard so we can, grade or cut or fill or stake or measure or move equipment or, move a pile of dirt or excavate the wall or run a loader through there or whatnot. So please just park where your truck is. I'll give some gratis to the bulk guys that they drop their end dump. Right. And then they come to the yard with a bulk tanker. They need a spot to park. But I mean, that's just a quick question. Hey, I got an end dump in my spot and I have a bulk trailer on, or, the lowboy guy, or, whatever, Coleman, not the lowboy guy, but just, those things. Right. But otherwise, for the most part, if you're always pulling an end dump, just always park in your spot. Would you please? It helps us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, we started the podcast with, why do we have these things in place? Why do we train like that? Why do we ask this and stuff like that?
And over here at this yard as well, like, don't park on the street. We want you parking in the back because of our neighbors and the deals we made and stuff like that.
Yes.
So,
how nice has our yard been here since we started having everybody park in their spot in the red yard?
Yeah, it's been good.
Oh my gosh. Game changer.
Yeah.
It's been so nice.
And I love the area that we put in the spare trailers in now.
Yeah.
We're not having we still do it on occasion, but we don't have to go right to the fuel aisle or the north side of the building.
Right.
We got a good spot to stick things.
Yep.
Over in the super tandem parking area.
Too funny.
Sorry. All right. JR, this is from JR. How Saturday loads can make up for missed loads throughout the week, especially with good attendance. Yeah. So, if you had a day where maybe you were fighting traffic or for some reason your day didn't go your way, coming in and working that Saturday, not only do you get the money from working Saturday at 41% base, right? That's your base pay. You also kick up your Friday bump to 38%,
right?
Which is significant. So yeah, Saturdays are crucial to good pay around here. You know what I mean? So I would definitely take advantage of that. I know we had some work this past Saturday and hopefully this Saturday, and eventually hope we catch fire and we're working all Saturdays.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it was set up to compensate you for a long, hard week and make it worthwhile. It's just like overtime, and it's good. It's good stuff.
From the shop, Mike, you want to mention that the plastic welder that we use to repair liners is broken. So it's important to keep the hose clean until that's repaired. Why is it important to keep the hose clean while the plastic welder is out of service? Because those little holes turn into big holes, turn into flaps, turn into rip liners, right? So once you have a hole, those holes get big pretty quick. Also, if there's material under your liner, that's how a hole starts, because there's a high spot and the material just rubbing that high spot will get you that little hole. So right now, if you have a problem with your liner, it's imperative that you take the best care possible of it to prevent it from becoming a big problem. So you could shake that liner out after each load or when you're switching material. Do that with your trailer all the way up in the air and your brake set. You could get in between your tailgate and the trailer and shake that out, stick a broom handle up there, whatever you got to do, but get all that material out of there. And then the last thing I have for the discussion, pop your fuel cap in the morning to make sure your tank is topped off. It's a habit I got into when I was driving. Sometimes our gauges are broken, or maybe you were fueled up the night before, but sounds weird, but maybe somebody came and siphoned the fuel out of your tank, or maybe the shop brought it in and needed to do something and drained your tank, or there's a lot of things that probably will never happen that have happened. Most common, you'll have a fuel gauge that's not working. So I like to just pop that fuel gauge in the morning. When you look in there and you see it's full, it's full. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and maybe, I mean, outside of you mentioned some good stuff. Maybe Greg ran your truck, brought it back. It's not preloaded. It's all cleaned out, and you don't know. Maybe that's what happened. But yeah, definitely, because we ended up the truck ran out of fuel, right, Jam? That's the reason for the note in there.
Yep.
We had
we
that.
ran out.
So
Gauge was broke.
Gauge was
And it was
broke.
showing full.
Sure.
All the way across the board. So
Sure.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then I got to mention, because it just came across, we've dumped another load of material on top of the wrong material.
Oh my gosh.
And we're having to haul it back to the pit, and we had to contact LG Everest is where it's out of. And I just, we talk about money, you guys, and what the things are. You got to realize when we have to haul a load back like that or have a load rejected, it's anywhere from $700 to $1,000 that we end up paying for that load. The material, rock and sand, is expensive, you guys, especially at 25 tons. And we get dinged for that. And it's the right thing to do. We ruined the material. We dumped in the wrong spot. And hey, the driver's owning it, said he got complacent, hauled sand for the last few days. We understand all that, but that's that thing of, we can't have you be complacent. We can't have the mistakes. When there's a mistake, it's almost always going to cost us money, and it's too important, you guys. And that's for the, even if we weren't doing the podcasts, you guys, which we're paying you to listen to the podcast, we're making it on your own time, we're making it so you can do it in the truck. Any company would be having safety meetings,
Right.
And these would be the same items we'd go over in the safety meetings, or the toolbox talk, or all of that stuff is this same stuff. We have to have everybody paying attention. You have to be meeting the standards, and that is not dumping the wrong material on the wrong material. And it looks like the driver caught it, but I know by the time material starts to come out the trailers, shit's sliding because of the liners. It's coming out, and I appreciate how it was handled, but still, we can't have those mistakes.
Yeah, when you make a mistake, some people feel like, okay, I made a mistake. People make mistakes. But when you make a mistake and that person makes a mistake and that person makes a mistake and that person spilled coarse grain and, no fault of our own, we broke a rail. I mean, it all adds up and it starts looking bad.
That's the, like I said earlier, there's so many people doing it right, but when we have a few people doing it wrong, mistake or not, just like you said, Jim, that's when it adds up and it comes up and slaps you in the face, slaps you in the wallet.
Right.
And that wallet, that's all of our money.
I agree. Guys, got anything else for the discussion?
I think I'm good.
We're all discussed out. All right. You guys want to give Chili Dog a call?
Yeah.
Sure.
He may be out of area. If he is, we'll call Andrick. How's that sound?
Yeah.
All right.
I like it.
Yo, Chili Dog.
Yo, what's gravy, baby?
I got some beef. I got a bone to pick with you. Yeah, I'm just kidding. You are live on a recorded podcast.
Oh, well, this is going to be a short one because I'm about to lose service.
Ah. Well, if we lose you, we're going to call your buddy, Andrick. But let's try to get through it. So, first question, how long have you been driving?
Like 10 years, roughly.
Okay. What kind of driving jobs have you had?
Sand and gravel, mainly. Did a bunch of tandem stuff in the beginning when I was younger. And then got my Class A, started doing end dumping. And I've been doing end dump for a minute now.
Nice. How long have you been at JFW?
In August, I'll be here 5 years.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's great. What's your favorite thing about driving end dumps?
Just the way they look. There's nothing better than a nice, shiny aluminum attached to a nice, clean truck.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about driving?
You get to travel a lot, different spots everywhere you go.
Commerce City, Brighton.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
It is, I don't know if you can hear me, Chili, but it is funny when you don't drive every day, what you miss going on in town or Denver, Colorado, or whatever. You miss a lot. It is interesting.
Yeah, you're right.
What kind of advice do you have for new drivers here at JFW?
Patience and just put in some work.
Okay. And what do you like to do on your free time?
I like to sleep. Just kidding. Family time is very important to me. So as much family time as I can get, I love that.
Does the baby sleep through the night or wake you up?
Well, he keeps mom up a lot. I'm a heavy sleeper.
Okay. Do you have a personal goal you've been working on?
Personal goal. I just want to be mentally better, mentally strong, and just been working a lot on myself lately.
Oh, I like that. I'd like to hear more about that. Maybe I'll call you later. What's the number one thing on your unbucket list? Something that you've done that you'll never do again?
Something on my
Play soccer and break your leg.
Ooh, that was kickball.
Oh, kickball.
Never play kickball again.
Not with Gilly.
It tells me I'm too old for that shit.
Don't play with Gilly anyway. Shots fired by Jim.
Oh man.
Is there anything else that you'll never do again?
Off of the top of my head, I can't think of anything right now, to be honest.
Okay, you have anything on your bucket list then that you want to do that you've never done before?
I want to go to Hawaii.
Okay, aloha.
Aloha.
What
They have good pineapples out there.
What's the attractions in Hawaii?
Just something different. It's part of the United States, and it's a paradise is what they call it. So just it's on the list of a place you have to go to at least once in your life,
Okay.
Yeah, totally agree.
Nice. All right, Chili Dog. Well, we got through it before you lost service. I was warned yesterday that you may not have service, so I'm glad we got through it. We don't have service.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's some timing, right? Thanks, Chili. Be safe.
Yeah. Good job, Chili Dog.
No, I know. I'm just on the podcast. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Cool. All right. What's next? You want to speak on 4th of July, either Jim or Dave?
Yeah, the 4th, we have confirmation that all the paving will be closed, 4th, 5th, and 6th. We obviously know Brannon is closed on the concrete side on the 4th. We're still trying to get verification that they will not need any trucks on the 5th. We assume so, but you know what happens when we assume. So, but I would say it's a pretty good guess. We will be able to close Friday for sure, and most likely Saturday, where we would normally work. Coors is running all weekend. Right. They're brewing the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. They're not going to shut down, so they got to keep making beer. So we'll need Coors volunteers, but yeah. That's what I know for now.
Yeah. So just so I'm clear, Dave, and I know the date part of it. So looks like we're closed Friday.
Correct.
Right. Which that's the 4th. That's what
Correct.
you just mentioned.
Minus Coors.
Coors
right? Is still running.
Right.
We will need volunteers for Coors.
Absolutely. And on the gravel side, we still may be open Saturday.
Could be.
We don't know yet.
We haven't gotten verification yet.
I just don't want everybody to think that we're off the 4th and the 5th, which is
right.
Friday and Saturday.
Right.
And it is, still the holiday.
Yep.
All that kind of stuff. So let everybody be prepared. We're just trying to give you notice as soon as possible so you can plan something if you can.
Yep.
It's the nature of our business.
Yep.
I won't be approving any more time off for that week, though, just so you know.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and find out, just like we got to wait and find out.
Yeah. Not going to happen. Yeah. Yep.
So.
Yep.
Okay. The other big thing we got is JFW's 90th celebration. The actual birthday is July 5th, but the celebration will be on July 3rd at both yards. And there's going to be sweet treats and shirts. The time will be determined.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. The exciting about that, because me and Dave's talked, it's our 90th celebration. And for you guys, we don't have the exact date like we're saying the July 5th here, you guys. And how we did that is the earliest pictures we have was 1935 of Grandpa in the trucks and trucking, In fact, Janet and I've spoke of it several times. For my birthday, Janet and Dave put together a picture board that plays pictures. You scan them in and plays pictures. And she scans. So I don't even know where she got in some of the albums, but we have the greatest pictures of the old trucks. There's even one with one of the trucks rolled over, and you're just like, that happened back then too. That
Pretty sure it wasn't one of ours.
it wasn't one. I don't think it was, but it was desolate, and it's just a crash.
It looked like
it was
a mine out in the middle of nowhere, didn't it, Jim?
Right,
It was in the Sahara.
Yeah, and loading out of one of the plants, there's the truck on the scale and stuff, and and I just it's just amazing, and where we got the July 5th, just as a just so everybody knows, that's Sam Slagle's birthday, and so that's the reason we picked that, the July 5th, 1935, and we know 35 is a pretty close date on is when the company started,
Right.
or year wise. So yeah, and then to celebrate 90 years. We've joked with each other and go, we got to make it to 100, got to make it to 100, and that puts me 71 years old. I'm like, damn, another 10 years, but time goes by so fast, you guys, it's incredible. And as another shout out, since this celebration is, anybody that's worked here in the past and still listens to this podcast, thank you. You've made it part of our future. The people that work here now, thank you. You've made it.
Absolutely.
That's how we've made it 90 years. And, I look at those photographs I mentioned and the history. Thank you to all of those people and our family that's made it. Thank you, Dad and Mom. It's an incredible journey. And I just mentioned it. It is a little bit of a bummer that it does go by so fast, because you almost look back and you go, was I there? It's like, me and Holly being married 30 years. We talked this weekend. You're like, where did those 30 years go?
I'm about to put it in perspective for you, because as you're talking, I'm doing some quick math, right? So 90 years, you've worked here 40. If you make it another 10 years, you'll be 71. You will have worked here for 50 years, which is a half a century. And also 50% of JFW's existence. So
Yeah.
that's a good goal, Jim.
Right. I'm halfway there, 50%. Yeah, it's amazing. And we just have amazing people here that have dedicated, a lot of their lives, Jam. Look at the times that people, dedicate here, whether, even if it's a year, even if we just celebrated a year anniversary, that's a dedication. A year should be looked at as a long time, because there's a lot of life. Yeah. So thanks everybody. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, I thank everybody from the past and everybody in the future and everybody during. Thank you for making this possible.
Yeah. And I know we put on there the time to be determined, but we'll have the ice cream trucks and whatnot at both yards, when everybody starts coming in. I don't think we could put a time on it.
And what is it?
M's.
Yeah. Looking forward
Andrew.
to seeing Andrew. Yeah.
Yep. I am going to eat clean until 7:03, because that is some good ice cream.
So you can, I bet his ice cream's pretty good for you too. Jam, I think.
Other than just the sugar.
For all natural.
Clearly.
You know what I mean? I don't think there's a bunch of
he's not pouring red dye in it.
Yeah. No,
I'm sure it's sugared up
stuff.
though.
Yeah. Kind of. I gotta see, because I
was gonna say, you're gonna be here on crutches, aren't you?
If
you're here,
I am. Yeah. Holly talks. She goes, I'll get you down there.
Wheelchair.
Yep.
Have you seen that new stuff people are dropping? Methylene blue.
I've heard about it, Jam. Yeah, that it's just supposed to be amazing for you.
No,
I laugh because it's meth. You know what I mean? But
it's blue.
Yeah,
it reminds me of Breaking Bad.
Right.
I'm out.
Yeah,
I've not heard anything about it. You guys, is it a supplement?
It is.
Yeah, it's supposed to. But it's not FDA approved, and it doesn't need to be, because it's considered a nootropic. And I just heard about it last week, and now that's all I hear about.
Right.
Oh wow!
I
feel like I'm pretty up on that stuff.
You'll hear about it every day now.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Your phone will pick it up, and there you go, Jim.
Well, it's probably,
you're welcome.
It's probably better than Bigfoot and Yeti that I've been watching, because that AI stuff.
I think you just had a delivery of methylene blue
by Bigfoot.
Oh man!
I was just listening to a podcast while I was setting up for this podcast, and now they have AI like Bible heroes, like,
Oh, really?
but they're influencers. So it's like an AI generated influencer.
Interesting.
Like, yeah, like if they had like social media back when Moses was like parting the Red Sea, and I
Like he
haven't
would
seen,
discuss it with you biblically.
I don't know all about it, but I'm sure I'll find out now. Yep.
Right?
So it's
Your phone is going to tell
Yeah,
you.
that I was listening to a podcast before I was on this podcast. Congratulations, Jam.
Oh.
I like your new podcast.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It was that was hard.
I bet.
So I do have guests. We've already recorded episode 2, and I had a guest, my buddy Ryan from Bighorn Firearms, sitting in a room with a camera and not having you and Dave and Super Dave there.
Were you lonely?
It's hard. It is hard to do.
Yeah, hold
Yeah.
the conversation.
There is no conversation, so you feel like you're just reading.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much what I was doing. I was looking down a lot. So I actually recorded that twice. The first time when I was done, I was like, don't put that out. And then the second time, first one was 10 minutes, and I was able to stretch the next one to 24 minutes. So
okay.
Thank you for listening. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Episode 2 should be really good. If I could plug it since you're talking about it, it's called the Rebel Yankee Podcast. God First, Guts and Guns. So we talk about how God's moving in our lives, what we're doing to keep him first, and then we get into, self-defense, fitness, and cool man stuff,
Yeah, I mean, I thank you for saying that about plugging it, Jam. I think the goal here in jumping in on your podcast is about just being better in general.
Mm-hmm.
And how can that be wrong in any form?
Right.
No matter how we're trying to celebrate that, what forum or platform that is, and to educate. Dave's joked, I don't know how many times, about trying to put something on our tailgates to educate people about what's going on in Colorado. You're
politically,
Right.
But and I don't want to get off in the weeds, but like you, Jam, you talk about guns, God, all that kind of stuff. Why can't we celebrate that and give somebody's an opinion and have a conversation about it?
Absolutely.
Talk about it. I told maybe this is off the subject, but again, I brought it up how many times. Mine and Holly's 30th wedding anniversary. We took a little staycation down in Colorado Springs, went to see Old Dominion, and man, I've listened to their music, but sure enjoyed the concert and everything else. So it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and until Sunday, you guys, we didn't stop and have a conversation with each other. It was like a wind down.
Wow.
And we were living life, talking about JFW, which is, like 50% of my life, right?
Right.
Talking about our family, our kids, our whatever. And not until Sunday did we just like take a moment and we talked about ourselves. We talked about the goals of our futures together, all that kind of stuff. But
Nice.
it was a whole download, and it took us that long,
Wow.
4 days to get to that point.
All right, I'm ready to talk.
Yeah. And how enjoyable it was, and I my own platform here, like you're talking about your podcast, man, I urge people in a relationship to take the time and download and do that once in a while with your significant other. But that goes across the board to your friends, to all sorts of stuff. I think, a big success of JFW, talking about the 90 years, is, I have my confidant in my brother that I work with every day. And we've been able to get along all these years, but he's my download,
Right.
he's my outlet. And that's part of our success here, because one person to run this or handle the pressure, man, that's a lot.
Mhm.
And you see a lot of companies that are run by that one person, and that's commendable. But I also think they have somebody someplace that they're bouncing ideas off of or whatever.
Sure. Yep.
And that's important. So yeah, thanks to Dave for the big part of the last 90 years, right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Good job, brother Dave.
Well, thank you, but we're blessed because we have an amazing team.
Yeah, there's that.
Hands down, we are we're nothing without the team.
Yeah,
So-
I was, as I was saying that, Dave, I was thinking about my thing about the rocks rubbing together
Right.
and how we've all come out polished.
Yes.
We've put a bunch, and it's just such a metaphor because we haul rocks, and we put it in this big machine and we rub and we friction and we have grit and everything else, and we come out with this beautiful stone. And that's what JFW is. But we've put hundreds of stones in this, and you're right, Dave, where we've come out.
I could tell you both that probably the biggest thing that I've learned here at JFW is the true meaning of teamwork. People, if you asked me 7 years ago, are you a team player? Yeah, I'm a team player. I like working with people, but I didn't really understand it, and I wasn't able to do it and appreciate it as much as I do now. Where before, maybe I would want to tackle something on my own, and now it's kind of like, no, I want my crew, not like it's my crew, but the crew to participate,
Right.
because I know it'll be better, together.
Yeah.
Right. I do want to ask you guys both if it's okay if I speak freely about JFW on that podcast, because, I didn't want you guys to be affiliated with something that you don't want to be affiliated with, but there's a lot of things that happen here and we talk about, and I would like to be able to talk about those things on the Rebel Yankee podcast as well. So
It's just further educating people
Absolutely.
and things, right, Jam?
Yeah.
I don't see a problem in it.
Yeah,
It's
I don't either. I mean, that's we all know your character and you're part of the team, Jam.
right. The next thing is, and I'll probably have an easier time convincing Jim than Brother Dave, but I would love to have you guys on the podcast one day. I think that would be really great just to talk about, how this business was built and what went into it. And Brother Dave's like, I'm busy. We'll tackle that when we get there, but keep it in the back of your mind.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's great, Jam. I appreciate the invite. I know through our relationship, we've had some Sunday coffees together and talked about a men's group and things like that. I still believe that's so important in some kind of form.
Yeah.
And I think your podcast has a little bit to do with that.
Awesome.
And but I really believe strongly in the communication. That's the reason I bring up that piece about Holly and mine and Dave's and the group. And, it's a battle, and it's not easy, but it sure makes it a lot easier when you have people.
Yep. And we're designed for community. We're not designed to be a lone wolf.
To be isolated.
To be isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just got a call from an old friend of mine the other day, kind of begging for help, not begging like in a weird way, but like,
There was a shout for help, right?
Yeah,
It's
Like he may have been reaching out for help and not even knowing it, right, Jam? Is that kind of what you're saying?
the words were, I need help.
Oh,
I don't have anybody.
gotcha.
And I'm a firm believer that everybody should have somebody.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see where we're at. Safety topic of the week, merging correctly. Merging is a special skill that everybody should have that a lot of people don't. So if you are the merger, the one getting on the highway, your job is to get up to highway speed to be able to merge over. If you are in that right lane, your job is to help that person time things where they can merge over safely, right? If you're the mergee or the merger, right, don't merge into the flow of traffic and make people brake behind you and then get in front of them and hit your brakes later or something like that. I don't know. But that was actually, JR threw that in, and I could only speak on what I know about merging. I don't know what he had in mind. So JR was supposed to be on the podcast this morning,
Right.
but he's out trucking.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you, JR, for that too.
Yes.
And Casey and Scooby.
Scooby and
Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
we had a few
Ken-
call outs
Kendrick's
this
running
morning,
class,
and,
yeah.
and there's the team.
Yep.
Right? Just picking up the pieces and putting them together. So, yeah, thank you to you guys for all that support. But, yeah, I mean, back to the merging, I guess I want to add a little bit to that, because at some point, you need to realize your truck is 65 feet long from bumper to bumper, and a car is going to need space in front of it or behind it or whatever is getting on next to you, right? So if you're in the right lane on a 2-lane highway, which generally you will be, and there's an on-ramp and you see vehicles coming on, help that person create their space, right? I mean, we've all seen it 100 times, probably every day, where there's some jerk in a car that's like, I'm not going to let that guy in. And he closes up on the bumper on the guy in front of him. And you're like, dude, you just made life difficult for everyone, including yourself around you.
The energy.
Right? When you could have just let that person in and no one would have had to have slowed, or, you know what I mean? Just that stuff. So I guess I urge you to use your professionalism and more than that, your knowledge. Our drivers have so much knowledge about what they do and their driving ability. Make life easy for the people around you. You know what I mean? Help those people merge. What if that's a 17-year-old that doesn't even have 10,000 miles of driving experience in their 1 year, of vast knowledge, and they have a parent that's not a good driver that helped them get their license because they need help getting their kid around and they're counting on their kid getting themselves around. Help that kid get on the highway because you have the knowledge. You have the experience. Help that person. You know what I mean? It could be the other way around. What if you're helping an elderly person that, is driving their last few years of their life and they're not as aggressive getting on the freeway and they're only doing 45 or 50 and you're like, oh my God, why are they going so slow? This is a 55 or 75 or whatever, You're the pro. You're the professional. You see it. You're writing the story, watching it unfold before they know. I guess that's my point. You know what I mean? Be part of the community. Help them be successful. And I guarantee you're going to be more successful because of it. You helped everyone around you and they don't even know it. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that would be my thing, David. And you I can't say it any better than you did it. You're the professional. Control the situation.
Yeah.
Make everybody happy.
Yeah.
I could go back, and I know I've mentioned it, that, one of my best friends learning to drive when I was in high school, dad was taking him out and he was on the highway, and I don't remember what the situation was, but it was a merge situation. They made the person mad or whatever they did, cut him off. And the guy actually shot my dad's friend
Your friend's dad.
My friend's dad.
Yeah.
Sorry. My friend's dad in the back of the head as he was learning to drive on the highway, never caught, never nothing. And his dad was not mentally correct the rest of his life.
Yeah. Luckily survived.
Yeah. If you want to call it lucky, Dave,
not the
right?
same human being
Not
whatsoever,
the same.
right, Jim?
And that's 42 years ago, and we can't merge any better.
Yeah.
Right.
Happened right here on 270.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So eliminate those positions.
Yeah. Don't. Yeah. You are the professional.
We had an instance though years ago, Jim, in my pickup. We were right here on 270 again, and I was driving and didn't even know I pissed someone off. We still don't know where that guy came from, and man, was he mad. And Jim and I are looking at each other like, I don't even know what I did. Like,
Probably listen to the podcast.
absolutely clueless. I mean, yeah, he was. I don't even remember the instance. I just remember the dude was mad, and Jim and I are like, where did he come from? How did
Right. What happened?
we don't even recognize this car, right? What did we do?
Yeah.
Uh,
Such a, yeah.
It's
So
funny.
there's some weirdos out there
It
too.
took me a long time to learn that the accelerator pedal has two directions on it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
backing off, not even braking, but backing off, looking ahead and knowing when to back off a little bit is the most peaceful thing you could do.
It is.
Yes.
You know, compared to speeding up and like, oh, I let 3 cars in front of me. I'm going to speed up and not just chill out. You know how much energy it takes to be angry
Yeah.
and a jerk on the road?
Right.
Lots.
Yeah.
A
Truly,
lot more than it takes to just be chill.
truly does. Yep.
All right. Tips and tricks. Number 10, the big 1-0. Look up before you dump. Good morning, JFW family, and welcome back to another week of tips and tricks. Wonder what the purpose of tips and tricks is. Please remember that the purpose of these tips and tricks are just ways for us to be helpful, better, and safer drivers on the road. Let's be JFW professionals. How often do we dump our loads before looking up? I'd say not that often, because a lot of times we go to the same pits and plants that we know that there's nothing above us. Sorry, I was just reading a little bit here. Remember that we're beginning to deliver materials to new customers, and that means new locations as well. We can't start getting complacent with long hours and nonstop driving. We all just want to go deliver those loads and get back to the yard at the end of the day. Drivers, whenever you deliver to a new location, let's try to remember as soon as we get out of our trucks and walk back, but before unlocking our tailgate latch, look up and make sure there are no power lines near you. When we start delivering salt to CDOT locations, we're always going to dump inside a shed. Sometimes they'll have us dump it outside, and that's great, but majority of the time it will be inside. Since I've been working here at JFW, I think there's at least 5 or 6 accidents that I know of that could have been prevented. If there's a loader or another driver is behind you and you're unsure that you might hit the top of the shed, ask for help. Drivers, if you see someone start raising the trailer and there's a power line or inside a shed, let them know and don't assume they're aware. That's good teamwork, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let there be a spot. Let's be their spotter. If you're alone and you're dumping, you might have to get out and check your trailer and make sure you're not going to hit anything on top. If you need to pull forward to avoid hitting anything, please remember to go slow. Also, always make sure you give yourself the room to pull forward after dumping and drop your trailer without hitting the shed. Sometimes we forget that when we hit our 4th stage and didn't hit anything over us, we think we're good and pull forward after and don't realize once we drop our trailer, we're going to hit the entrance. Okay, so basically your trailer is further forward now than when you started.
Right.
And you have to have clearance in front of your trailer to pull forward and move up or let the trailer down. If you're ever in that situation, you can drop your trailer down to the 3rd, 2nd stage, stop, pull forward so that you're clear from the entrance, and now you can fully drop your trailer. I know drivers really don't like to start dropping their trailer without pulling forward because they don't want to rip off the mud flaps. So whenever I'm dumping inside a shed, here's one thing I do. Before I pull my tailgate latch, release valve, I'll grab my end of my mud flats and have them sit on top of my trailer tires, super singles. So now when I'm dumping, there is no material weight on the mud flaps, and then you could start lowering your trailer down to avoid hitting the shed and know that you're not going to rip off the flaps. Now with the power lines, this one's easy. If you see a power line right above your truck, get the hell out of the way. We'll call dispatch. Plant 2 has a power line where we dump the stockpiles. That power line is actually high enough where it won't touch our trailer. There was a driver last week and I witnessed him get out and look up and saw the power line, and he got out of his truck and looked up again. I called him on the radio to tell him that he did a good job looking up and told him that it wasn't going to hit it. Let's keep in mind, though, that electricity can jump as well. If you get too close to that power line,
Right.
you might as well be touching it.
Yeah, we've literally had it jump 6 feet.
There you go. But that's what we should do. We have to look what's around our truck before we take action. One little easy mistake, or what Brother Dave would say, 100% avoidable, could cost us a lot. At this point, it's not even about the safety bonus. It's your life on the line when we make these mistakes. Let's always look up and around us. Please let me know on Connect Team what you think about this week's tips and tricks, and thank you all again for listening and for the positive feedback. Let's start doing things the JFW way. Until next week, Armando, the Sergeant Del Val, 0073. Together, we can be better.
That's awesome, Armando. That was
another good one,
yep,
Armando.
Yep.
Yeah.
10 in a row, man. You're 10 for 10, buddy. They have all been spot on.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to add to a couple things there. You know, I know he touched on A1. He was really speaking about the salt sheds. A lot of that was brought up. You know, on level ground inside those salt sheds, generally 3.5. When you hit stage 4, the salt's out.
Yeah, it's
you know what I mean?
Rolling off the line.
Yeah, if you're worried about it, you know, hop out. Those state guys or city guys or county, they're not going to carry you get out of the truck.
Right.
Hell, most of those places, and I don't want to promote this, but you don't even need PPE on when you get out in there. You know what I mean? They're chill guys. You know, we're starting to do that summer fill program where the salt companies give them a break. That's why we're delivering now in the middle of summer for them. And yeah, so hop out, take a look. When that trailer hits 3rd stage, you might be empty. You don't necessarily have to raise it all the way to the top. Might be a little salt stuck in there. Go, hey, I don't want to raise my trailer up all the way. I'm going to hop in there right quick and clean out and leave you your salt. Those state guys, they're going to be thrilled. You know what I mean? They're going to be thrilled. And I guess I just want to emphasize all these A1 chip seal sites, they're the dangerous ones. Hitting a building is one thing inside those salt sheds. Those A1 chip seal sites where we'll hit a power line, that could be imminent danger.
That's life or death.
It is. And, you know, knock on wood, we've hit them over the years and we've been blessed and lucky that we've only damaged trucks and trailers and tires and whatnot. Everything that could be repairable. You know, we haven't hurt anyone yet, and it's important. So just like Armando says, man, look up and live. We've always said that. You know, there was a deal here. When did they do 225, Jim? When did they do the repair on 225 and widen the highway? It's probably been over 10 years now, right?
It's been a while again. Yeah.
15 probably, right? Who knows? Maybe even longer than that. But during that process, you know, there's that main power line that goes from the west side of 225 to the east side. And they now have orange cones or orange flags hanging on them. But they were out there doing night paving, and a truck hit the power line. And it actually, if I'm not mistaken, right, you guys, they were pumping concrete. 2 concrete mixers were backed up to the pump, and the pump swung as boom over to where they were paving and hit. And you guys, that feeds the west half of Aurora to the east half of Aurora. It literally took the 2 drivers that were standing at the back of the pumps and blew them up.
Wow.
The electricity hit them, disintegrated them. The pump operator was killed. I think the guys at the end of the concrete hose were injured. I mean, and when I say they died, they blew up. They exploded. The human body has a lot of moisture in it, and moisture and electricity don't go well together.
Well, they actually go really well together.
Well, yeah, they conduct a lot of electricity through them, right, Jim?
Right.
Yeah, the problem is it doesn't go anywhere, so it's got to go somewhere, and it goes out. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, a lot of people died that night, and it was pretty historic as far as an awareness in the construction industry when it happened. Everybody was like, oh my God, this is real. You know what I mean? Like, this is how dangerous this is. And I'll never forget, I'm sure they're there to this day. We could probably ask Scooby because he goes there every day. Mm-hmm. They almost look like orange cones hanging on those transmission lines that go from one side of the highway to the other. And it just, I don't know, it gives me chills. It just freaks me out.
That's
it scares
really
me.
scary.
Yeah. When you know something's so dangerous, like you get the chills from it. Yeah, you're just like, oh, this can't be good. So yeah, it's important, you guys. Please pay attention.
Do we have any volunteers that would like to read the High Road Hauling? Otherwise,
I can do it. If you want me to volunteer, help you out. I know you read Armando stuff.
I need
see if I can murder this because I haven't read it yet, but it's going to be good though, right?
It is going to be good.
I really like this one.
It's a Super Dave High Road Hauling, man.
I do my best, Super Dave.
He told me before he left yesterday he was pretty proud of it.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
It's going to be good.
I know we're teasing, but they are good. A lot of some recycled and some just good, refreshing stories. So, resilience. Do you have it? Facing difficulties is all part of life. I can often feel like we face endless challenges instead of happy endings. When we overcome one challenge, another one rears its ugly head. Some people grow stronger through these challenges, some become weaker. Example, 2 people get laid off from their job, one gets angry, feels humiliated, becomes depressed, and loses confidence. The other analyzes the situation, identifies his or her strength, and sees it as an opportunity for growth and moves forward. It's not how many challenges we've been through that differentiate us, it's how we see these challenges that matter. Resilience is defined as the quality of being able to return quickly to a previous good condition after problems. In other words, it's about moving on from a difficult situation with just empathizing, I still can't say that, the positive parts and blindly believing that something good will happen. Instead, it's about seeing both sides, good and bad, being aware of potential issues of the situation and taking action accordingly while keeping hope alive at the basis of it all. Resilient people never think they really fail. The only failure is when someone does nothing, doesn't try, and just swallows in the injustice of the situation. Failing 90 times to a resilient person means learning 90 lessons. And it's these so-called failures that contribute to the ultimate success. Having the mindset that a so-called failure is a setback rather than a time for growth and redirection can be enough for us to give up. We've all experienced these and may well have given up on a dream or a positive path as a result. But even though these failures can hit us hard, your resiliency will be the key to success. Resilient people ride on their internal qualities, not external triggers. Focus on your strength rather than your weaknesses. That's a good one.
That is a good one, isn't it?
Right? Challenges tend to remind us of our weakness and cause us to dwell on them. Instead, look towards your strength and tune your direction accordingly when things appear to be wrong. Focusing on strengths is how we acquire growth, while focusing on weakness only ultimately serves as a reminder of why we fail, because of them. Resilience means knowing the best way to move forward in order to get ourselves back to a place of strength. And we can't do that if we allow our weaknesses to keep us down. Resilience isn't something many of us are born with. It's a skill that comes out of experiencing dark times and setbacks in our life. It's about developing the skill to see challenges differently in a positive way and intentionally shift our focus and mindset to create a position in which we can take full advantage. Failure is the opportunity to begin again more intelligently. Brought to you by Henry Ford.
Ooh, yes.
There's some good pieces in that, Dave. I like that. Resilient people ride on their internal qualities, not external triggers.
Yeah.
Focus on strengths rather than your weaknesses. I don't know, that line right there, it reminds me of merging.
Yeah.
Right? It says resilient people ride on their internal qualities. Your internal quality is adjusting for the merge, driving for everybody.
It's your gut. It's knowing what to do, what the right thing to do is, and not being triggered.
Right? And
right?
not external triggers.
Yeah, that's what, when you said it, I was like, ooh, that's damn.
Yeah. Focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Yeah. That was a good one.
It's hard not to be triggered sometimes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm triggered every day. I mean, you got to go breathe and figure something different out.
Right.
Yeah. That's
I also like that, how failing 90 times is some people consider as growth.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Other people would be like, I'm done. And these people are like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm growing each time I learn something.
Yeah.
That high road hauling reminds me of, this will be my final thought. It reminds me of that book, Rare Leadership, and it talks about different qualities, and returning to joy quickly is a sign of a good leader. So you can face adversity and then it doesn't really rock you. Like, you go through it and then you return to joy and you deal with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what that brought up for me.
Yeah, that's a good one, Jam, because that would be my worst when something happens on dwelling on that, and that would be not returning to joy. That would be my biggest fault, is working on it when I should just return to joy.
Right.
And because here's the lesson.
You can either work on it joyfully or you can work on it unjoyfully.
Yeah.
The choice is yours.
I work on it unjoyfully.
And that is part of the creed too. Together we joyfully create honest value. I mean, it's easy to do things, but to do it joyfully or return to joy after something happens. I mean,
yeah.
I feel I'm decent, but maybe I'm too good at like switching back.
I don't know. Yeah, for myself, I think I hang there too long where it messes me up doing other things. I should move on. I've learned the lesson, but I've dwelled there so long, I'm not doing a good job of the things right in front of me.
Yeah, I could say the same, actually. I've obsessed about things that I've done wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, what's too long? You know what I mean? It's different to all of us, right, Jam? I mean,
Sure.
you have a scenario where, you're amped up because of something that's gone on, and, is 10 minutes too long? Or I feel 10 hours is too long, but maybe it needs to be discussed amongst people for 2 more hours,
Yeah.
or whatnot. But you got to move on. At some point, you've got to move on, right? And shift that gear and go on. But I mean, I'm certainly not the type, and I don't know many people that are, that's like, yep, that was not good, and we've learned something from it, and off we go. Everything's going to be okay. You know what I mean? I don't know many people that can just flip that fast and move on.
In my experience, Dave, I would have to look at that as being the lesson.
Yes.
How long is it going to take you to learn the lesson or teach the lesson of what the problem was? When you use, like, do we need to discuss it for 2 hours? That's trying to figure out what the lesson's teaching us and how to fix it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. When I hear return to joy, to me, joy is a feeling. So we're talking about feelings, right? And if your feelings aren't joyful, I think it's important and okay to validate those feelings. Like, hey, you know what? I'm freaking pissed, Jam. How come you didn't see that flat tire? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. Let's validate. Yeah, you know what? I should have caught that. Or,
Yeah.
But to be able to change gears and return to joy from there,
right?
Yeah. And you're right. That feeling, Jam, is sometimes because I'm just wore out from here, and I don't take my joy home. I still have that feeling of wore out. That's where I wear it on my sleeve with my family. And that's where I'm like, no, this was the lesson for today.
Right.
We got to move on, which is, it's onions. It's layers and layers and layers.
Yeah, going home is the requirement to shift gears.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's roll down the windows, turn up the radio, detune on the way home.
I pulled over on the way home before to really decompress a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm not ready yet.
Yeah. That's all that, and then as you guys, being a driver, and we discussed a little bit last week, I think, and had a good meeting with the driver, is when you're by yourself, you build up so many scenarios too.
Right.
As you're, because you guys you're by yourselves in your truck.
Yeah.
Don't let that return to joy. Don't let that stir, sit in your cab with you.
I guess. Good stuff. Final thoughts, guys?
Dave, you got?
I mean, I don't have specific words that I didn't set anything aside before this, because I felt like we were dealing with some shit this morning, like we do often, right? And then we had to come up here and joyfully shift gears.
I felt bad too, because typically on podcast day, like, my routine's a little different. I get in here and I start doing my thing, and you're like, did you see my Connect team? I'm like, nope. Is there something wrong? What do you mean we're dealing with stuff?
So I guess I got to go with the resilient. I mean, if we've proven anything over all the years of JFW's existence, JFW is resilient. I mean, we've sold ourselves to many of our customers that, damn, we survived the Depression. We survived war. We've survived COVID. We've survived a cement shortage, a driver shortage, a water shortage.
Fuel.
Fuel shortage.
Common sense. Oh.
I mean, resilience is the ability to be knocked down, like Jim's favorite saying is, the warrior in the arena, and you get back up. Did you lose? Sure, but I'm still in the fight. And I say I'm not meaning like myself, but we as a family, as a company, as our all of our family, the drivers, the shop, everyone, I feel everyone here is resilient, and I guess I'm thankful for that. And, I'm proud to say there's still certainly things I can work on to be better, be a better leader, be a better husband, be a better person, all sorts of stuff like that, and I think if you don't have that mentality, you might be fooling yourself, a little bit. So I guess, that's kind of all I got. Pretty scrambled thoughts, but I think we as a whole are pretty darn resilient.
I agree.
I think that's a testament to be able to say, hey, next week we celebrate our 90th anniversary. Who knew? You know,
Yeah,
who knew? I know Jim and I certainly didn't sit down 40 years ago and go, hey, we're going to do this.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe we should have. We would have had a better plan.
Maybe we still should plan something out a little better. Yeah. I ran across this because I'm struggling with the fact of back to the training and people just going out and doing it their way or falling back into, I don't know, the relaxed, just doing it. And I don't want to call it their own way, but because I have trouble when somebody asks me to do something a certain way and it's my job, when the customer asks us to do it that way, I just do it that way because that's what they ask. That's how,
right.
That's part of our success. That's where I feel that has to be done. We might not understand it or like it, but you do it that way, right? That's what we've asked here. We're asking you to do the job. So I tried to look for something that expressed my feelings. And this guy goes, listen, I ran across this guy goes, listen, I got 20 words for you. Okay. I am giving you these comments because I have very high expectations and I am confident you can reach them. Just 20 words. That's what we have here. We have very high expectations. It's our standard. But the thing is, I am confident that you can reach those.
It's achievable.
Right? You can reach those, but we're not. And that's the, again, I mentioned it. Do we have to teach different? Do we have to do something different? What do we have to do? Because I know you can reach those expectations. And I feel that's our fault that we're not. When ultimately you're the captain of the ship, right? It's still up to that person.
When we say we're not, it's a lot of us are.
Yeah.
The people that are doing it their way aren't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's and that's the thing, Jam. It shows.
Right.
And you don't recognize that it shows. That's where I just have a problem understanding. I need to be more
I get
understanding.
It. Causes problems too. I mean, just for example, yesterday, trucking along and going through my day, and then we get a call in on a driver, and now it's research, and now it's, it's like unnecessary work,
right?
Right, to find out what happened. When we've told you not to do it like that from the beginning. So,
yeah,
I mean, it is truly like the spill at Coors. We're finding it hard to believe when we all look at it that the driver wasn't aware of it, didn't say nothing. There's the amount of weight that was hauled, all of that, and what it turned out to be this morning, the amount of work, and our work's not done here because we have to address it with the driver.
Right.
That's not that, and that's the stuff that, there at Coors, you are the captain of your ship on how you get loaded. You can push and put that button as many times as you want.
Yep.
And at some point, it's like, what were you thinking? And look at the situation you put all of us in, and we have so many people doing it right, just like we just said, that you're going to make all of them look bad by spilling your load.
Yeah, the expectation from Coors is do it right every time.
Yeah.
And we're not going to notice that you're doing it right. But when there's a spill or something happens, we are going to be on it.
Yeah. You might as well hit my thumb with a hammer.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So please, everybody, my final thought should be the same thing of, that I would say at any safety meeting is let's be better. We can do this. We can do this.
All right, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the Channel 23 podcast. Hit that follow button. Also, don't forget to go back and listen to episode 72 to help find Amber's mom. Links to her story will be in today's show notes. Let's say the creed and get on out. Together we face and overcome all that stands before us. Together we are absent and free. Together we joyfully create honest value for those we serve. Together we celebrate our differences and respect those with whom we work. Together we are accountable for our words and our actions. Together we are the JFW family. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to take your knowledge challenge, and we'll see you next week.
There you
Everybody be safe. Thanks, everybody.
I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. Well, it's a family tradition, any Rocky Mountain day. Our fathers before us showed us the way. We worked for asphalt cowboys and concrete kings, but that's never been a problem, 'cause we got diesel in our veins. We've got diesel in our veins. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. I hear there's a couple million tons to move. I see them everywhere. So you best get out their way and watch that sand and gravel disappear. There's another run to make. We gotta get it there on time. And we got what it takes to lay it all out on the line. We'll lay it all out on the line. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks got the best drivers in town. They got all the tools they need to keep that hammer down. When they hit them scales, they won't need to dodge them, won't need to duck them. They just keep that hammer down, and they keep that diesel trucking. Keep that hammer down, and keep that diesel trucking. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-looking for another load. They just keep them doors a-closed, keep them butts in their seats, 'cause those customers are calling, and those red trucks can't be beat. They've gotta put the hammer down and pick up another load. Get it off the ground, keep them eyes open and on the road. Keep them eyes open on the road. I see those big, bright, shiny red trucks just a-trucking down the road. Those big, bright, shiny red trucks just looking for another load. Breaker 23, anybody got a copy on that Channel 23 podcast? Welcome, and thanks for listening.